Hello and welcome to my East Anglian model railway. I got an email today telling me I've now got over 1,000 subscribers, which came as a bit of a shock. I don't know where they all came from, but thank you for all of those of you who have subscribed, and especially for those newcomers who have subscribed in the last month or so. I would like to say a big thank you to another YouTuber, a guy by the name of A.D. Pullen, who reviews a lot of locomotives and rolling stock. And he's he's shared some of my videos and things like that with others, and I think that's helped to promote the layout, and I'm very grateful to him for that. He does some lovely reviews, as I've said. He's very measured, is that the right word? He's not extreme. He doesn't say this is terrible or this is fantastic. He's actually very sensible, and when something is really good, he says it's really good, but when it's just so-so, he doesn't say it's terrible and all that. He weighs up the good things and the bad things. So thank you to AD. So this is my layout, and because there are a lot of new subscribers, I thought I'd better give you a tour of the layouts. You could probably look back, trawl through some videos from ages ago, but they weren't very well recorded. I've got a slightly better camera these days, so I thought I'd show you my layout and give you a little tour of what's going on. So it's set in East Anglia, in theory. It's meant to represent, or at least when I started it, it represented the main line from London through Ipswich to Norwich. I say it represents, that's very, very rough. I mean, I haven't really gone out of my way to make it really authentic, but in my imagination, that's what it is, or that's what it was to start off with anyway. And this part of the layout you can see now is the very oldest part. So it's more than 20 years old, but it's seen a lot of modifications since then. Now I'm going to have to pick up my camera to do a tour of the layout. And I haven't got one of those gimbal things, so it'll be a bit shaky. Anyway, when I do that, before I do, by the way, here's a J11. Don't know what it's doing in East Anglia. But anyway, it's hauling the fish train, the empty fish wagons, back from London Liverpool Street to Lowestoft. That in my imagination. Meanwhile, going the other way, there's a B12 pulling 5 coaches, a 5-coach train, a couple of non-corridors and 3 corridor coaches, and I imagine that's the sort of stopping train, Ipswich to London or something like that. Anyway. And imagine it's set in about 1950, so those coaches haven't yet been repainted in authentic BR colours. They're still in their LNER teak. So, let me show you the layout. So beyond those tunnels is the line towards Colchester and London. And we've got some little allotments down by the railway. We've got a little village scene here, and a little sort of goods siding, a very small village, no station there. And we've got a little industrial siding here, and I tend to use my industrial siding, occasionally I shunt it, but more often than not I store the wagons that aren't particularly good runners. So a little tip, it's just a bit of scenery as much as a part of the layout really. And here we come to the main station. Now I call the main station Gypswick because that was the old name for Ipswich. Now this is not an accurate model of Ipswich at all, but it's a double track main line, and it's got a couple of passing loops as well, and in the background we've got a town scene, though I'm embarrassed to say that town scene has not changed in the last 5 years. There's some mainly super quick and some Metcalfe models back there, and I really need to do something about that. That's one of the next things to do, one of the next projects. But we've got a few storage sidings for locomotives here, and I've got far too many locomotives. Who hasn't? And going to the other end of the station, we've got sorry about that, I'm catching wires as I go. We've got the loco shed. So we've got a big coaling stage there, quite a few locomotives on shed. I don't know why there's an A4 Pacific. Well, I do know why. No A4 Pacifics ever ran between Norwich and London as far as I know. but I've stretched my imagination since then, and I've imagined that the whole of the East Anglian main line has been upgraded, reinforced bridges and so on, so that you can take A3s and A4s. Yeah, stretching the imagination a bit. There's a turntable here with a B17 on it, about to be turned, and going around a bit further, we've got a river. Actually, it looked really much like a river at one stage, but now it's very, very dusty, so you've not got the shiny reflective varnish look that we had originally. And if I look carefully, I can probably see some droppings on there. This is a very old house I live in. It might be bat droppings or mite droppings. We get both in our garage, and apparently you can tell the difference, because if you squeeze them in your hands, bat droppings crumble but mite droppings don't. I haven't tried it myself. I'm not really a great fan of squeezing droppings, you know, doesn't really appeal to me. Don't know why. Anyway, there's a goods shed here. You probably recognise the Super Quick model. And actually, beyond the station, there's another goods shed on the down line. I think the down line means it's away from London. Yeah, and up line up to London. So the down line, just beyond the Super Quick station building, there's another goods shed, which is an old Hornby model, which I covered with Super Quick brick paper. So, little sort of river canal scene there, and just beyond where the locomotive is and the train has just gone there is a branch line. It goes back behind, and just the steeply inclined branch line then comes round the back of the layout and reappears, and this is what I call Leicester Road Station. So it's a station within the town of Gypswick, and it has suburban trains going to and fro, and they continue on a branch line. In reality, there is Derby Road in Ipswich that has the same idea. It's a double track, it's single track, but it opens up to double track in the station. And that just reminds me of something else I wanted to mention. Runaround loops. I remember when I was very, very young, the Hornby track plans book, and if there's one thing it lacked, it was what we call runaround loops. They're about the best thing you can incorporate on your layout, especially if it's a steam era layout. In the station, trains can run in from the branch line. I'll try and show you how. I haven't got one running. Well, here comes let's just stop it in the station actually. Here comes the train that's supposedly going all the way to London. Hornby B12, one of the more recent ones. This one is actually a nice runner. I've got two B12s, the other one's a bit stuttery. I've also got some of the older Hornby B12s that people say aren't so realistic, but both of mine are good runners, so I quite like them. Anyway, the idea would be that if it wanted, the locomotive could uncouple here, go forward, and then it could it could run around the whole train, and it could then couple up at the other end and take it back up the branch line. Okay, so that's basically the main part of the layout. Double track main line with passing loops. There's a fiddle yard round the back, and where the fiddle yard joins the inner track is basically there. So you can have a few fiddle yard lines coming in to join the inner track. There's also on the far side of the main station a run-round loop and a goods shed and a siding there. They go inside and join up with the fiddle yard. I'll show you now how that. So here's the start of the fiddle yard, and any minute now the J11 will come through. So that's the inner line fiddle yard. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sidings on the inner line. On the outer line there are just 2 and the running line. You can see a V2, beg your pardon, in there, and another rake of coaches. And on top of all that, heading straight towards you, you can see an A3 Pacific. There's no reason it's there other than I just got it out the way. But that line curves round far side of all the fiddle yard, and it goes down and then curls round and comes into the goods shed on the up main line. It's just a way of driving trains around and shunting them in the up main line. So, meanwhile, this line here goes up to the branch line station that I called Leicester Road, and below that there is another fiddle yard. Well, there's one siding where I've got a couple of quad arcs coupled together, and a long straight line that goes around the back. That long straight line leads to here, where there are 4 more sidings, hidden sidings, and on the left there is a line that leads through to my other branch line. By the way, in case you're wondering, sorry about this faffing around, here comes the first branch line that's been up the hill leading to Leicester Road, and there's the main line and the runaround loop for that station, and there's a couple of push-pull trains in that station at the moment. Now, viewed from the other side, here is the first part of the layout which I talked about, and behind that you can see a line that's now curving around. Here is my cricket pitch, which has not yet got its Langley Models cricket players set up, and you might be able to see that. Is that a bat dropping or a mouse dropping? I don't want to find out. Anyway, here is my second branch line and where it terminates. There's a good shed there, a triangle turntable, and over here is quite a busy branch line terminus come fiddle yard. In fact, at the moment, because we're about to have some building work, you can just see a kind of wooden ladder there. We're having that wooden ladder replaced with proper staircase, so we can actually get into the attic space above the garage, which is quite big. We're having that replaced, so they need to do some building work around here. So I've removed all the buildings from my terminus come branch line here. It's meant to represent something like Felixstowe, so quite a big terminus station. Give you an idea, there used to be a big mainline station here, a bit platform, beg your pardon, another platform there, so you could have 3 or 4 individual trains, certainly 3 easily in the station, and there was a station pilot. I haven't yet got round to making my coaling stage, but basically a coal wagon gets shunted up to there, and there's going to be a sort of mechanical coaling stage there. We've got an A2, Bachmann A2 there. Again, they never run in East Anglia, but if I imagine that my East Anglian main line has been strengthened and built to a higher specification, the loading gauge has been improved. So at the moment I'm using that as basically another fiddle yard, and that was always the idea. It would be part busy terminus station, part fiddle yard, so that anything that wasn't on the main line could be stored here. Even so, I still haven't got enough storage space, and I guess when you've been modelling for more than 50 years, you end up with more stock, more locomotives than you can fit on your layout. And I really ought to be a bit more disciplined, but I just, well, those of you who've seen my other layout videos, you know I love a bargain, and I can't resist the odd bargain, especially when it comes to beautiful Ian Kirk coaches or their Hornby equivalent. You can probably see some nice Hornby Gresley teaks there, and I think right at the head of it we've got a lovely LNER A1 Pacific Knight of the Thistle, that is, I think. Got that half price from Rails of Sheffield, couldn't resist it. Or was it from TMC, the Model Centre? Can't remember. Anyway, so that's a tour of the layout. I've bent history quite a lot by saying you can run big Pacific locomotives on my layout, just an excuse to run some of my favourite big locomotives. But I probably run freight trains more often actually, but there we go. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that view of the East Anglian Model Railway. See you next time. Enjoy your model railways in the meantime, and I hope Well, no, I should say, actually, I am probably not going to produce that many videos in the next few weeks because I'm a teacher and it's basically back to school this weekend. So, see you whenever I see you. Bye.